It's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, brought to you by Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supplies. Here's tonight's Speed 77 Radio Race Chaser Online crew chief, Tom Baker.
Welcome to our Thursday Night Thunder here on the Performance Motorsports Network. We call it the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. 2 solid hours of motorsports conversation here on the Voice of Motorsports, PMN. My name is Tom Baker. I'm the senior editor of RaceChaserOnline.com. I am joined by several of my Race Chaser colleagues and by a special guest analyst here tonight, new member of our crew from NASCAR on Fox. We have CJ Wolliver with us. We'll talk to CJ in just a moment. Jacob Seelman, our managing editor of RaceChaserOnline.com, is with us. And Kyle Magda, our assistant editor and Northeast correspondent with Race Chaser here as well. We are set to talk motorsports here on the Thursday night. And Jacob, we do have plenty to talk about. We had a press conference yesterday.
Yes, we did. And I will start off my portion of the discussion with this question, Tom Baker. What do Kurt Busch and Franklin Roosevelt have in common, sir?
Wow, they both, I don't know. I have no clue.
They both were involved in New Deals. And that is where we start tonight, because Kurt Busch...
Wow, that was great.
Wow.
You're welcome for that.
That was great.
Wow.
Only I would
Jacob
come
stayed
up
up
with that,
all
right?
night last night.
Slow clap.
Anyway, to the point, gentlemen. Kurt Busch has a new deal, as announced at yesterday's Stewart-Haas Racing press conference. Monster Energy jumping on board as a full-season co-primary sponsor of the number 41 Stewart-Haas Racing Chevrolet for 2016. 17 races on the hood, 18 on the rear quarter panels, and 1 race where they get the whole car. More importantly, that's a lot of cash coming to the 41 team. And Tom, I have to say, those cars look really cool for next year.
Yeah, they really do. And actually, Monster will be on the car next weekend at Martinsville.
Yes, they will.
So they'll be making their official debut, I guess, as a corporate partner, as we like to call them around these parts. For,
you sound all professional.
Kurt and we try. The word sponsor sounds so much like 2 cents a pin for cancer. You're going to bowl. Corporate partner for Stewart-Haas Racing, and really obviously a perfect fit. I mean, Kurt's been a part of Monsters. He's been a Monster athlete ever since
2012.
When he was driving for his brother in the then Nationwide series. So, it's really going to be fun, I think. And I'm sure Monster will come up with some pretty creative things to do. And let's bring CJ Wolliver in here for a minute. CJ, one of the things that Jake and I were talking about yesterday, I made the point, and Jake did in his column about this yesterday as well, that, it really seems like Kurt has finally made peace with himself, with his past, with his situation. He's at a point, I think, in his life where he's finally kind of gotten everything together and has had just a tremendous run in this 41 car driving for Stewart-Haas Racing, and going to get married again. I mean, it just seems like he's got everything going for him right now. And I really believe, CJ, and I want to know your thoughts on this, I think we may not have seen the best of what Kurt Busch can do in a Sprint Cup car. Even yet, he may have some of his best years coming.
Well, it's really incredible. And, think about how we started this year with Kurt Busch. And if you would have told me in February, after all of that came down and after all of the drama, and, we won't go back into that because it was all talked about enough already. But if you would have told me that when the chase started and we were halfway through it, that we would be talking about not only Kurt Busch still having a chance at this championship, not only Kurt Busch having wins this year and being so strong and being with one of the organizations that I think is one of the top 2 organizations in the Sprint Cup Series right now, but also be talking about contract extensions and brand new sponsors and all of this money being thrown at his race team. If you would have told me that that's what we would be talking about come the end of October, I would have told you, like, I have no idea how that's possible. I would not have seen this coming. And it really is great to see because we all know what a talent Kurt Busch is. No one's ever questioned that. We've all known that sometimes he lets his emotions get the better of him. And he's even said in his own words, sometimes I see red and sometimes I, let my anger get the best of me. But we all know what a talent Kurt Busch is. So it's really great to see. And, this isn't a guy that's in the chase right now looking for to make his name or to prove himself. He is a champion already. He has a championship. But really, the comeback of the Busch brothers in 2015 after two incredibly crazy storylines to really start out their season in Daytona, it's great. And it's been a lot of fun to watch him, to be able to, really, it seems like we started out this year with a different Kurt Busch than what we have right now. It seems like he's matured in just only a few months to, a seasoned and viable competitor for this year. So it really is neat to see. And I would totally agree with you there that we could still see some of the best behind the wheel action from Kurt Busch. And he still has a lot of noise to make in his career, I think.
Jake, I know you wanted to interject something here, and then I want to get Kyle's take on this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, I was glad that CJ brought up both Busch brothers in this deal because, and I'll actually toss it to Kyle on this thought, the one thing that was really left unclear, Kyle Magda, in all of this is exactly how much involvement Monster Energy will have in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in light of this announcement. Nobody quote me on this just yet, but from what I have heard, the likely outcome of this, quote, multi-year deal from Stewart-Haas is that, based on some of the things I've heard, it's likely a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option that they're welcome to pick up in all this. More importantly, though, like we said, this is Monster jumping to the Cup Series, so the question now becomes, Kyle, if Monster doesn't come back on the 54 team for 2016, who steps up to the plate there?
I really don't know in this situation. And the thing I say that is because we're going to have two full-time drivers at Joe Gibbs Racing and Xfinity with Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones. We don't know which car number Eric Jones is driving just yet. But might be the 20 car. Whether they'll.
I was going to say I'll take the 20.
Yeah, me too. But that team has been on their game this year. So is the 54. With Kyle coming back. But there's a lot of questions that come up, and I know you and I were talking the other day, Jacob, about who would split the 54 with Kyle Busch. But it's all about sponsorship because I know this happened in 2008. They wanted to run the 18 full time. That didn't happen. Sponsors just didn't line up, and Kyle actually wound up splitting time. In the Braun Racing Toyota too. So, there's just a lot, still we need to find out, with this deal, whether they'll still run 3 teams next year, whether they'll have 2 teams, so there's still a lot out there. I think Kyle Busch could attract a sponsor, but, it's just, nothing is given, this time in this sport because, I think you can have a sponsor and then they just leave the sport. It's good to see a sponsor, someone like Napa, coming back to the Cup Series, running in the Xfinity Series and nationwide the last 2 years, with what happened in MWR and coming back to Cup next year, we could see something like that, Jacob. But there's still a lot of questions out there. But I think we'll know something here pretty soon.
And if I could interject real quick, guys, I think that this is a great thing, and what I think that it has an ability to do and what I think may happen. I mean, if you were a sponsor that was thinking, if you have a company and you were thinking about possibly putting some money, and when I say some money, I know that it is a large amount of money to be able to sponsor a car in the Xfinity Series that Kyle Busch is ever going to touch. But if you were thinking about possibly putting some money into a race team, and then all of a sudden you hear that there's a lot of hood space and a lot of quarter panel space available at Joe Gibbs Racing for their Xfinity program, that might be something where I'd say, okay, see what you can do to get me put in that spot where Monster isn't going to be anymore. So hopefully this creates a domino effect to where there's someone that could get on a very, very fast and always competitive car And it's great to see. We've had 2 major sponsorship announcements now in a matter of just a couple of months from Stewart-Haas Racing, and it's great to see these sponsors stepping up to have a greater presence in Cup. And of course, with Danica sponsor for 2016, never having had a presence in NASCAR at all, with Nature's Bakery coming in. So it's a great thing, and I think actually it's very promising to see a sponsorship not back themselves down or dial themselves down a little bit as far as how much money they're spending, but going, all right, let's write the big checks, let's go Cup racing next year, and then that may open the door for someone that doesn't have the budget for Cup but wants to be in a fast program, and that's definitely the 54 team and that Joe Gibbs equipment in the Xfinity Series.
Did I miss a memo here? Did we have another announcement that says that Monster's not going to be on the 54? Because I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah, the thing is, I think it
was never
the ability.
explicitly said, but Bob Pockris from ESPN said that he talked to Joe Gibbs, and they're already they've already gotten a lot of signs from Monster and are already planning that they will not have either any or at best, they'll have a small presence for that team next year. I'll throw out a name, Tom, and then I'll let you take it to the turn here. I'll throw out one name, and I just had this light bulb about 5 seconds ago that may step up to that 54 car, Interstate Batteries. Did we forget about them and Joe Gibbs Racing?
Well, that's interesting. Somehow I don't see them doing a full season, but it could be a combination of several of their sponsors. Interesting. Well, you know what? I just hadn't heard that. I was assuming they were going to stay on both cars. I thought that was I was looking at this like, wow, they've kind of cornered the market here. They've got Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch in 2 different series, and they're rolling. I hadn't heard that they were subtracting one to do the other, but that's a good thought. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled to see what happens on the 54 car. That also could open up the opportunity for someone else to come in with some dollars and actually take over that car as well.
Not going to happen.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Not going to happen.
Who said that?
Wouldn't bet on it. There's definitely a lot to play out here, and that really makes that a bit of a wild card. Money talks in this business, and if somebody brings full season dollars, Joe Gibbs Racing is going to have a hard time turning that away. But we'll talk more about this situation and NASCAR in general around the turn. We've got several drivers going to be popping in to say hello to us as well as we get going. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show right here on the Voice of Motorsports, Performance Motorsports Network.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue. We now return you to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. And here's the guy who lost the hula hoop contest at the last PMN Summer Picnic because he just can't hula hoop. It's Tom Baker.
Yeah, I keep saying I had two left hips.
It's
I'm
because
trying to be honest.
No, it's because you're round and a hula hoop is round. That doesn't work.
Well, it does if you don't have two left hips.
Aw.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Jacob Seelman, and special guest from NASCAR on Fox, CJ Wolliver, and talking some NASCAR. You know, we spent a whole segment talking about Kurt Busch. We need to probably spend a little time talking about what's going on this weekend. There's this big track in Alabama that's hosting a pretty important race in the chase because it's a cutoff race, Jacob. And I don't know, but Matt Kenseth and Dale Jr. have got some work to do.
Yeah, they do. You know, there's this legend in Alabama called Talladega, and basically it's where Talladega starts eating up and disappearing cars because this is just what that track does. The other thing that we forget about, though, is Matt Kenseth and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are very good at Talladega. Matt Kenseth has led almost 350 laps the last 3 years at Talladega. Dale Jr. won the most recent race there in dominating fashion. Only one of them goes to the next round with a win, and the other one likely goes home with nothing, basically, because this, as you said, Tom, is the second cutoff race in the chase. We go to the eliminator round after this, and we got four guys that gonna get eliminated at the end of this one. CJ, I'll take the 88. You can have the field.
Well, the thing is, you know, and what's great about one thing about this show, if I can just do a shameless plug here real quick, is all of these are archived, and you can go back and listen to these in different venues. I was listening on YouTube today to our most recent show, well, the most recent show that I was on last Monday, and we were talking about numbers, and, you know, this is where this guy is in the chase, and this is what he has to do, and this is what I think will happen, yada, yada, yada. This is his average finish. Well, you can take all of that, you can put it in a bucket, and you can pour it into the closest drainage system that you can find for this weekend because it means absolutely nothing. It is Talladega, and you know, Halloween is approaching, and I think that somebody's going to have to go out there and they're going to have to pull off a trick. But the main thing is that it is going to be a treat for all of us sitting and watching this race because there's four guys going into this race, and it's not just Matt Kenseth and Dale Earnhardt Jr. that have their work cut out for them. We've also got Kyle Busch and Ryan Newman that need to go to this race, and they need to leave there with a trophy. And
CJ, I wouldn't stake your money on Kyle Busch having to win. He's only 6 points out, and I really do think if he finishes podium, he's safe.
Well, the thing is what we were just saying is you have no idea how this is all going to work out.
Yeah, you can't race to finish podium. I think that's what your point is, CJ. You got
especially not at Talladega, right? Because you could be on the outside line, which has all of the momentum on the last lap, and then turn around and you're 12th whenever the checkers fly. So it's one of those things where, I mean, in 12th may be able to be good enough for it with Kyle if we have a big pile up somewhere toward the beginning that takes some of these front runners in the chase out. You never know. It's so hard to predict what's going to happen at these restrictor plate races because, you know, think about it. We did a piece a few days ago on foxsports.com/NASCAR talking about how incredible it was what Dale Earnhardt Sr. did for his final Sprint Cup victory in 2000. And he came from the back. He came from, you know, mid-pack
18th to first.
18th to first, right. And thank you for pulling that number out for me. I couldn't remember the actual numbers off the top of my head. But with 5 laps to go, the guy that's in 18th that knows he has to win this race, he's thinking, well, maybe I can do that. So let's go. Let's take these chances. Let's hook up with somebody and let's run to the front. And you know what happens 9 out of 10 times when somebody does that? When somebody gets desperate with 5 laps to go, they miscalculate it by a centimeter. And a centimeter at Talladega can take out half of the field. That's why what Dale Earnhardt did was so incredible. And while we're still talking about it 15 years later, because it was such an incredible feat. And it's going to be nuts, is what I think, because, somebody like Ryan Newman, he's thinking, well, this is my shot at a championship whenever we go to Homestead. I've got to win this race. I'm only 12th. Let's go. Let's make this happen. And it's going to be so fun to see how all of this breaks down. And it's the nature of the chase. This is what they wanted. This is why I believe Talladega is set up as an elimination race, because if there's any track where you can go and anybody can win and anybody can keep their hopes alive, it's this one. But when we get done, there's only going to be one guy with the trophy. And if you can't tell, I'm a little jacked up to go to Talladega right now.
Here's my thing with Talladega, a couple things. First of all, I think this race is either going to be typical Talladega or it's going to be a complete dud, because it happens sometimes at this track that if you don't have the big one and you go too long on a green flag run, everybody gets single file and they just all start riding around. We've seen that quite a bit at Talladega over the last few years, where nobody can pass anybody. Now, the other problem I have with this race, the other thing that bothers me is NASCAR has decided that they're going to have only one green, white, checkered restart. So if we have a caution flag and we have a green, white, checkered scenario, instead of the usual 3 attempts, they're only going to make 1. My issue with this is that we've seen more than one race where we've needed 2. And I think we've had 1 or 2 over the last few years. We might have needed 3 to get it done. Only 1 attempt, to me, is just not. I would rather have seen them go with their other idea, which was we're going to have 3, but if we need to go to attempts 2 and 3, we do it single file. To me, that makes more sense. I hate races that end under the yellow because I don't care what anybody says. It's not over. It's just permanently abandoned. Kyle Magda, you buy it or sell it?
I will buy the one green, white checkered, and this is why. First, I was in Daytona in 2010 when they first instituted the 3 green, white checkered. Now, at the time, yes, I was on that side. Now, I've kind of turned away back to the other side, just because that's kind of just how my views have been the last year. I'm fine with just the 1 green, white checkered. I mean, honestly, I agree with Ryan O'Hara, our West Coast correspondent. Just get rid of green, white checkers altogether. But that's not, and I agree with you, Tom. I don't agree. I don't like seeing races under caution. I'm not sure anybody does. But, I think what NASCAR is trying to do in this case, at least from what I think, is just trying to not, I guess, collect like 50 cars or 40-some cars in a wreck. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, yeah, and I understand, like with the green, white checkers. I mean, for like if it was like for 1 green, white checkered for maybe another track, like maybe for Atlanta or Martinsville, I mean, I can get that. But, I think when you come in this instance, I do buy it that, for the drivers, but I will sell it because for the fans, because they want to, have a green flag finish, however many attempts it takes. Cause I was in that point in their shoes at one time, back to the 2010 Daytona 500. And I think that went 1 or 2. So, there's both sides of it, but as a writer, I'm buying the 1 green, white checkered.
I just don't like it because my feeling is, to hear you say, well, if it was another track, I may be more upset about it. This is Talladega. This is a deciding race in the chase. This is a cutoff race in the chase. So, my view of this is that every attempt should be made to make sure we come to a conclusion. And if you're that worried about tearing up race cars, what are you racing at Talladega for? It's a big, old, fast track. It's almost too fast right now.
Only almost.
Only almost. For the technology.
If I can't, the unfortunate thing about it is that it is the nature of the sport, and nobody likes to see races end under caution. No, that is not as exciting as a race where they're having to come off of 4 and who's going to beat somebody back to the entrance of turn 1 to the line. I mean, when we saw Kevin Harvick and Jamie McMurray do that back in 2001, it was incredible. But
sure was.
You don't get that every single Sunday, and I understand them wanting to try to keep as many fenders on these race cars as they can. Now, do I think it's maybe a little bit of an overreaction to what we saw with Austin Dillon at Daytona?
Yes.
That's possible. I do think that. But I also think that, if you have 3 attempts at a green-white checkered, think about it, we're adding how many laps around a 2.5-mile track to this race. So then you got to start thinking about, the fuel mileage game and all of that sort of stuff. And I know if we've got cautions, we're going to have them on pit road to have fuel, but there's so many variables, and I understand them erring on the side of caution. I do get that.
Well, I get it from both sides like Kyle does. I mean, I can see the other side of the argument, but to me, the fuel mileage thing means absolutely nothing because these cars, these drivers, they've got engineers. They calculate this to the, down to the lap practically. And to me, that's just part of the strategy and part of the fun for the fans to see who's going to win a race. And I don't think the system was broken. I think the 3 attempts were fine. I don't understand why they felt the need to change it, but it is what it is. So we got 1 attempt. Hopefully we won't need it. The thing will just end the way it should, and it'll be an exciting race for everybody because we certainly have got a lot of storylines to follow going into this weekend, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later on in the program as we get into our white flag segment. We'll chat more about Talladega and also about the the truck series as well, racing at Talladega and coming back after a couple of weeks off. With that being said, we are going to step aside. CJ Wolliver from NASCAR on Fox, thank you very much for being with us tonight, and we hope you have a great weekend in Talladega. Look forward to talking to you on one of our shows next week.
Absolutely. And by the way, that Truck Series race, everybody catch that. It's going to be on Fox, not Fox Sports 1. It will be on the main broadcast channel this weekend.
Gotta love that, brother. All right. That'll be on Fox.
Big Fox.
Yes, the Big Fox. Yeah, on the Big Fox. Look forward to that coming up this weekend. We'll step aside. When we come back, we begin our driver guests. Mason Mitchell is going to be joining us from the ARCA Series. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report on the Performance Motorsports Network.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm going to do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
If you're a gearhead and you just can't get enough of your favorite motorsports on that channel on the cable, or you look at that Guy network and you just go, what does that have to do with me? We have the answer. Performance Motorsports Network. Right here on the internet. The best cruise and tunes, the best in motorsports programming, and the best shows. We have opinionated hosts, and we like it that way. If you want to get involved, if you want to bench race, be listening for information coming up soon right here on this channel, the Performance Motorsports Network. Your source for motorsports. Here we go with more of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, and Jacob Seelman with you on a Thursday night. And Jacob, it is time to start our Race Chaser Hotline Driver Carousel for the evening. And we've got a returning guest.
Yes, we do. I'm gonna go right to something that he said to us last week too. Mason Mitchell, the last thing you said to me last Thursday night was that you were gonna give us a reason to have you back on. Congratulations. You lived up to your promise because you promptly went out, dominated, and won at Kansas Speedway. Mark that one in the record books because I have to say I was pretty impressed by the performance. All three Mason Mitchell Motorsports cars were in contention, but your drive, I think, takes the cake. Obviously, it took the trophy. So how good does that feel?
Well, it feels great. I appreciate you having me back on the show. I was having a blast. And it wouldn't have been impossible, though, without this huge support, though, from Carl Chevrolet. The folks from Iowa were on there with them, and then they came back on board at Kansas, one there. So Carl and everybody there, the huge staff there at the dealership, did a great job. And everybody at Mason Mitchell Motorsports did a heck of a job. And then Stock Car Steel even helped out for their lit at Kansas. So it was cool to create that partnership with them. And they're just right up the road from us. And so a lot of people, a lot of support we had there, and just an amazing night. And it was so cool to have all of our three cars running fast. There, at the end, myself and John Westheimer, my teammate, and his Zaxby's Chevrolet Impala 88 car, running out front and duking it out. I thought we put on a heck of a show for the fans, and fortunately, we came out on top.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that for a minute because for a while there in the closing stages, it was you versus John West. How do you balance that as the owner of the car running next to you fighting for a win versus the driver in your car fighting for a win, and knowing that you both, you want to have both cars finish 1-2, but you're pushing that little bit extra hard, even though you are the owner, to get that driver's trophy for yourself as well. I mean, how tough is that to balance when you're in the seat from the helmet?
I mean, honestly, it was probably one of the most fun times I've ever had behind the wheel. It kind of reminded me of being at a go-kart track where you're out there with your buddies, duking it out, going back and forth, beating and banging. Obviously, we didn't beat and bang because you just don't do that in intermediate racing, but it really reminded me of that. And honestly, I had a blast, going back and forth, passing me back, and it's like, dang. I mean, I knew he was going to race me hard, and that's the way I always be expected to race, but he raced me hard, raced me clean, and it was a lot of fun. And I mean, it crossed my mind of like, this is going to be hopefully a great night for Mason Motorsports. It never crossed my mind to finish in second. I was always there determined to try to win the race. So, but honestly, it was an absolute blast having fun there with John West towards the end of the race.
Well, I'll have you know, Mason, we do performance picks on our Monday night shows, and we've got a little kind of inter-office tally going on throughout the season, and the ARCA race was one of the ones that we all picked. And I will have you know that I picked you to win that, and I had no doubt that you were going to be motivated to do that. When you've got a teammate like John Westheimer and a teammate like Austin Self, and it's the last race of the year, and you're going out and you're running at a track like Kansas, I just had this feeling that you were going to get the win. Now, I'm not saying that just to blow my own horn here. I'm making a point that something about the way that you had this all set up with John West going into the week led me to believe that John West was going to be a bit of an inspiration, just somebody else that was going to go out. He has no reason to run for points. He's simply running to win the race. And sometimes that can have a very interesting effect on the whole team to where it elevates everybody's performance because it's almost like another rabbit to chase. And it's interesting to me that it came down to you and John West. And I'm wondering, going into the weekend, did you and John West have any conversation about, approach to the race or whatever? Or basically, did you just say to him, look, go run, and if it's you and I on the last lap, race to win, don't worry, there's no team orders here?
Yeah, I mean, I've known John for a couple years now, just racing back and forth in the ARCA series.
Yep.
And then he was at the shop for basically a whole day. We were mounting a sheet and just kind of going through some stuff here that we do a little bit different than we used to, and just kind of getting a game plan. And we never really talked about team orders. I mean, he was there to win the race. I was there to win the race. Austin was there to win and also have a good points day too, which he did. He got second. But throughout the whole weekend, we were all fast and there to go to win the race. And I know at driver intros, he was starting right in front of me on the outside. He was joking around about making it 3 wide in the first lap, and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm calling you. I'm not making it 3 wide on you. We're just big in here." So, I mean, he knew he was going to race hard, and but he's actually he's a really smart racer. Really, I feel like he has a lot of speed, and he wasn't going to do anything dumb and wreck 2 of the team cars by any means. But he was there to win, and so was I, and it was just so cool to come down to the end there. I felt like it would have, just because I felt like I was really confident in our race cars. So I knew how we prepared them at the shop, and I knew just at the track how fast we were. We unloaded, so it's really neat to see, and hopefully we can have some more of that in the future.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the season in general for you guys. Obviously, you started off the year intending just to run Austin full time and run for the championship. And then you started running, a race here, a race there. You actually, I think, ran one for Venturini a little while back here. And you started to talk about expansion and, you're going to add more cars. So talk about the season in general. Are you happy with the way things went for Mason Mitchell Motorsports this season? And what can we look for going forward for those who may not have been listening when you talked about this before? I know you're going to expand. Just kind of talk about this season and talk about what you can tell us about what next year is going to look like.
Well, I believe it was a successful season for the organization and the one at Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Definitely a positive, moving in the right direction like we've planned to. 3 wins, and I think I believe we're the only ARCA team to win with multiple different numbers. I mean, there's been some teams out there that's a decent amount of wins, but they've only done it with one number. We've done it with the 78 team, and we've done it with the 98. So I believe we're the only team to do that, which is I think pretty important because we're very versatile. Not just one team's good. I feel like every team's good in our stable. So that's positives, and that was good. Obviously, would have liked to win the championship, but we gave it a heck of an effort and finished second. So the 2 years we've been in the sport, we finished 1-2 in points battles, and we've got a total of 4 wins now. So that's definitely I think a positive and one of the strongest teams out there. That's the way we're trying to be and give an opportunity for kids to showcase their talents and keep moving up the ladder. In the future, we're going to try to run 2 full-time teams and expand in the K&N series. Obviously, we ran 3 teams at Kansas, and that's definitely an option too. Everything just has to fall that way. So just a lot of things happening, a lot of good things in the works here. Trying to finalize everything up. Hopefully here in the next month to get rocking and rolling on our 2016 and have it even more successful. And I feel like, especially in the last month or so, we put a lot of people, key people in place that have really helped this program out. I think an essential asset to that was Kevin Reed Sr. He's been a well-established crew chief in the ARCA series, had a lot of wins with different drivers, and me and him have known each other for many, many years. We never had the opportunity to work with each other, but we've always wanted to, and finally, Friday night, I got to work with him behind the wheel. He's been with the organization for a little over a month now, and I think he's really had a huge value to going to that next step, the extra mile, and making our program just a little bit, that little extra better that we needed to be. And it's proven. We've had fast race cars, and we won obviously Kansas Friday night. It's been a pretty decent year for us, and we're looking forward to the 2016 season. We got a lot of great people that supported this year. With Austin's campaign, with AM Technical Solutions, Pirate Energy, Texas T, Dorbs, everybody that helped out there. The 78 with Noah when he ran, with Alert ID, and Cody Evans with DISA Auto Auctions. And obviously, Carl Chevrolet has been a huge supporter of myself, Stock Car Steel there, Ancient Enterprises. So just a lot of people that helped out that make this year a success, and we're looking forward to having a better one next year.
I want to close our conversation out, Mason, with a two-parter for you. And actually, you hit the sponsors. I want to hit on one person that has made the tail end of this really, really good for you guys. You mentioned him, actually. What was it like Friday night having Kevin on the box, and how different was that compared to some of the other crew chiefs that you've worked with in the past? And then you were talking about next year. In an ideal world, what does 2016 look like for Mason Mitchell, the team owner?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all know that I've worked with a handful of crew chiefs throughout my year, and I've had success with a lot of them. But Friday night, I mean, that was one of the best race cars I've ever driven. We never made an adjustment all night. We made 2 adjustments in practice, and we just kept on working, getting laps, working on lines, and doing everything I could behind the wheel. And it built such a nice race car for that race. And working with Kevin throughout the race, he's more of a cheerleader than anything. Constantly on the radio, giving me times, giving me motivation, and then trying to make it happen. And obviously, it paid off. And I would love to be able to run a full season with him on my pit box the whole year. But for myself personally, next year, I'm confident I'll be back behind the wheel more than 5 or 6 races, whatever it was this year. I believe we have a really good relationship with a lot of people we've created this year, especially Carl Chevrolet. So it's been great to me, and hopefully next year we can expand that, and then hopefully I'm behind the wheel more in the ARC Series and the Canyon Series, but most importantly, just moving up to the NASCAR ranks and hopefully get some truck or Xfinity starts.
I know we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, Mason, and we also know that when things do start happening, that we'll be able to get you back on here to talk about it. For now, we'll wish you guys the best of luck as you work to sew up everything for next year, and congratulations again. There's no better way to go out than on top. So congratulations on the win at Kansas, and we'll certainly talk to you here over the winter.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's always a blast, and hopefully we have some news here to announce soon. We can be back on. But once again, I want to thank everybody that helped us out this year. I know they helped you guys out with Stock Car Steel and SRI, and they were a huge help throughout us all year and helped us out at Kansas. So thanks to them, and thank you guys for having us on, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mason.
We're going to take it to break, and up next, the champ joins us. We had the race winner here from Grant Enfinger. After this, you're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records. 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Eric Darnell.
This is David Reagan. Jamie McMurray. This is Carl Edwards here for RAD,
the entertainment industry's voice for road safety.
Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible.
Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate.
Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to Speed 77 Radio, Stock Car Steel, SRI Motorsports Show, and more Thursday night race talk. Here's your host, Tom Baker.
Welcome back to Thursday Night Thunder here on the Performance Motorsports Network, otherwise known as the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Jacob Steelman, all of us from RaceChaserOnline.com. Today's racing news, yesterday's racing history, tomorrow's racing stars. Glad that you are with us here on this Thursday night, and we go right back, Jacob, to the Race Chaser hotline, and we bring on the 2015 ARCA Series champion, Grant Enfinger. Welcome to the program. Congratulations, my friend. I can't think of anybody who deserves this more than you.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on the show again. That title has a nice ring to it, so definitely very, very proud of that. And everybody at GMS Racing is incredibly proud of what we're able to accomplish this year. So it's all good smiles around the shop here these days.
I'm sure there are. I mean, obviously, the battle that you had down to the wire last year didn't end up going the way that you wished that it would have, but it's got to feel great to come right back this year. Not only just that you did win the championship, but the fact that you were able to contend again for the championship. 2 really, really good years for you guys as a group, and that consistency has got to feel great for you.
Oh, absolutely. So, we were able to have a little bit more consistent finishes this year, but, even better than that, we had consistent speed. Most all the places we went to, we have had speed in the car. We were a contender week in and week out, and we were able to overcome a lot of issues. And normally we'll be able to overcome them, and by the end of the race, and still have a solid finish. So, just couldn't be more proud of everybody at GMS Racing, and really excited to bring on Champion Power Equipment for the final race of the year there, and also the guys that helped us all along the way, Allegiant Travel, Worth USA, Triple K Construction, and Portable Shade.
All right, Grant, I know how big last Friday night was for you guys. More importantly, this season, really to finish what you couldn't last year. I want you to take us back for a minute, or take us back through. I know there were a lot of things probably that stuck out to you. If you had to pick one moment, besides Friday night, of course, we know how big that was, but if you had to pick one moment that really stuck out to you through this championship run in 2015, which one would you pick? I'm curious to hear.
There's so many of them. To be honest with you, it's really difficult to just pick out one. There's so many instances when something went bad or wrong, and our guys and our crew chief Jeff Stankwitz and myself were all able to come together and overcome it. A perfect example of that was a couple of races ago at Salem, Indiana, when I hit the kill switch and didn't know what I had done. And I coasted down pit road, with the engine shut down, and everybody had jumped in the car and tried to figure it out. And anyway, I ended up bumping the kill switch again and fired up, and we had to start again from the back. And able to hit the cautions just right and have a really good handling car that was really good on tires, and still able to come back and win the race. So that was the last of the memorable moments, but there was quite a few throughout the year. But that's the most recent one, and like I said, it's just that was one example of many, and that's just how our year went. It was definitely plagued with a lot of issues, but it seemed like for most of the issues we were able to come up with answers.
I know the smile said it all, but if you can spell it into words right now for what Maury, Gallagher, Spencer, everybody has done at GMS to build this team into an operation capable of doing what you guys did this year, how big is this for all of you guys? Not to just go out and win the championship, but to do it like you did, winning 6 races, being there, race in, race out, contending for wins all 20 weeks of the season. I mean, this team, nobody would have looked at it 2 or 3 years ago. You came over there about midway through 2014, said, let's give it a go, and now here you are a year later, finally after 7-8 years in the ARCA series, sitting there as a champion. I mean, how big a moment is this really for this whole team?
Yeah, you just mentioned it. It's huge for myself personally and career-wise, but it's also huge career-wise and personally on a personal level for Spencer Gallagher, like you mentioned, and Maury and Ron Booth and Mike Deem and everybody that steered this ship. Like you mentioned, I came over here a little less than a year and a half ago, and it was an incredible organization, man. Something like I'd never been a part of, and to see it now, we've grown and become even more organized and a better facility, better resources. It's a pretty incredible place to work. Definitely I'm surrounded by a lot of really, really smart minds that are able to help us on a daily basis. And it's really the team atmosphere there is pretty incredible too. It's not separated at all. We got one ARCA team and 2 truck teams, but whenever we needed something, there was somebody there that could help us. And Jeff Stankwitz is Spencer's full-time truck crew chief, and he was able to make, a lot of the ARCA races with us, 3/4 of them. Bronson Butcher, he did our tires for 7 or 8 races. He's a full-time tire guy on the truck team, so a lot of these guys didn't have to do what they did, but everybody really dug deep and made this deal happen. It's definitely a team championship, and like you mentioned as well, it has been something I've worked a long time for, so it's so special to me as well. This is my 3rd full-time season in the ARCA series, but yeah, I've been I guess I started and parked my first car in 2008, so it's been a long time since then. It's definitely rewarding now.
I know it is, and there were a lot of people that had you tipped to get a little bit of a bigger reward. You mentioned the 2 full-time truck teams, and I know a lot of people that had you tipped to sit alongside Spencer in one of those trucks, at least part-time, if not maybe get a full crack at it for 2016. Johnny Sauter coming over to fill that void next year. what's 2016 look like for you? Is there anything you can tell us? And I've got to ask, were you a little bit disappointed at all when you heard that Johnny was coming over to that truck seat? Because I have to imagine you might have been at least gunning for it a little bit.
I don't know exactly what I'm doing next year. I feel like the guys there at GMS Racing all want me back, and I definitely want to be there. So, it's hard to say right now how that's all going to go and what all is going to happen. And, we allocated every resource we had and every ounce of energy we had to get into to where we got to, last Friday night. And that was everybody's mindset. I'm happy that we've got another really good driver there in Johnny Sauter at GMS Racing. But yeah, obviously I want to continue to move up the ranks, and I definitely want to be in a truck. So hopefully that's something we can work out into the future. And how far that is into the future, I don't know. But I definitely like it here at GMS Racing, and like I said, I think things are lining up to where they want me back too. So hopefully I'm in something in the GMS Racing stable next year.
Grant, 20 races this season. You won 6 of them. Just looking back on the season, I know there was a lot of drivers that you drove against. Out of all of them, which one, in your opinion, was the most competitive field?
The most competitive field. That's hard to say. Honestly, we had quite a few places that we went to where it was just it was a lot tighter field than years past, and more so than an actual competitor standpoint. I'd say a lot of that was the Ilmore engines. Pretty much, the top half of the field and everybody that's running the Ilmore motor is on a level playing ground now. Whereas, in years past, sometimes you go to these big tracks and, somebody may have 10 or 15 or 20 horsepower more than you, and it really shows. So, to me, the most competitive fields were, I feel like Daytona and Talladega. I think there was more passion than usual in the ARCA cars. I feel like 2 cars could actually make some stuff happen, whereas in years past it hasn't been like that so much. So I think that the 2 super speedways really provided for better racing, and I think as the years go on and time goes on with the ARCA Ilmore engine, those qualifying times and everything's going to get closer and closer together, and I think it showed that this year.
Well, Grant, congratulations on finally picking up the championship. Certainly, as we said earlier, well-deserved. We're very happy for you. We hope that you have a terrific holiday season and a terrific winter, and certainly would hope that we would see you back with GMS again next year in some capacity, and look forward to having you back on the show soon as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Hopefully we got some good to announce with GMS Racing pretty soon here. So appreciate y'all having me on the show again, and we'll see y'all down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks, Grant. And we will step aside. When we come back, we go K&M Pro West Series Racing. Going to talk for the first time here on PMN with Alex Shuddy from out in the K&M Pro West Series, and we'll do that right around the turn. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show right here on the Voice of Motorsports, Performance Motorsports Network.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby Labonte. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our communities safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Now, back to more with Tom and the Speed 77 radio crew. It's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Jacob Seelman. RaceChaserOnline.com is our website, the National Motorsports News site, where you can find all of today's racing news, yesterday's racing history, and tomorrow's racing stars. We have got Big Mike behind the glass, punching all the right buttons to keep us on the air. And we are joined on the Race Chaser hotline by none other than NASCAR K&N Pro West Series racer Alex Shuddy. Alex on the program for the first time. We're really excited to have him. Alex, welcome aboard. Glad to have you on, and congratulations on a very impressive run last weekend.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate you having me on the show. Been looking forward to it, and yeah, we had ourselves a fun little night there.
Well, we definitely looking forward to talking with you. Talk a little bit about that race because, the K&N Pro West Series has been so interesting all season long and has got such a mix of young drivers like Grayson and Noah Gregson and, drivers who've had more time and more experience like yourself. Talk a little bit about that race with Grayson last week because it sounds like it was a real humdinger.
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting race, no doubt. We started in the second row and we had a pretty good piece. Steve Portengay was, he put together a darn good piece, and we ultimately found ourselves into second early on, and then were able to take the lead. I think 30 some laps in, and kind of was able to control the pace from there. After restart after restart, we had a kind of a dominant car at the beginning, and we're able to kind of stretch out and get a little bit of safety from behind of it, as far as some car lengths on second place, and kind of maintain the equipment and the tires and everything like that. Because in those short tracks, there's going to be a yellow. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And we had some good restarts there, and had a great race with the 99, Chris Eggleston. He raced me super clean, and that was just an absolute blast. I had made a little minor mistake coming off the bottom, and he sure as heck took advantage of it underneath me, and we raced side by side for 20-some laps and ultimately able to hold him off, and that set us up for that green-white checker, and we hadn't seen the 27 the whole race, and it was ours to lose at that point, and got a good restart, hit my marks down on the bottom of 3 and 4, and right there in the middle, got a little help from the rear and kind of moved us out of the groove and just barely to get nipped at the line. So it was definitely a tough one to swallow when you're leading that many laps, and just to lose it right there at the end, it was tough.
We'll turn the table on you here for a minute, Alex. Jacob Seelman. I got to ask you, I know you kind of just alluded to it there, but those few minutes after the race, knowing you've been in this K&N West Series a couple of years now, I think arguably this probably the best run that you've had in one of the K&N West cars, but how heartbreaking was it just climbing out of that car at the very start, though, on, what was it, 2/100ths of a second, I think, at the line?
Yeah, no, it was definitely close, and that line's kind of far down the front straightaway there, and I don't think either lifted, well past the braking zone trying to get to that time in line, and it was definitely heartbreaking. I'd love to say it'd probably be easier to accept if it was a hard-fought, side-by-side rumble to the end, but to kind of just get moved out of the way a little bit, that made it a little bit harder to accept, but we're going to come back a little bit stronger there in Phoenix. We've come a long ways, from the start of the year being our first year ever in stock cars, and we've proved since Sonoma battling inside the top 5, and we've got a lot to be proud of. We've got a good team behind us, and Steve's really shortened the learning curve there, and some really solid support with our sponsors.
You've made so much progress this season, and I know, I think you opened a lot of people's eyes last weekend with the run that you had. I mean, how big has this year been for you as far as not just the learning curve, but, even now starting to see some of that finally come to fruition?
Yeah, no, it definitely feels good, and to be able to show people that we can run up front, and it's been a long time coming. I think we've had the pieces of the puzzle, and now we kind of put one together there. I've definitely improved from the driver's standpoint from the beginning of the year, and we just started to click with Steve Portengay, working with each other, kind of figuring out what we needed with the car, and I definitely think it was our best run, and I wish there was more races, or we were able to do it a little bit earlier in the season, but for our first season of stock cars, we can't have our head hung too low.
No, I would say not. I mean, for your first major season in stock cars, I mean, are you surprised now at the fact that you're where you're at in the transition, in the learning curve? I mean, I know there's a lot of people that really wouldn't have thrown your name too deep into the hat as far as conversation at the beginning of the year, and now here you've been the last couple of races, last couple of months, battling up amongst the top half dozen or so, and fighting for the wins, and you got to feel that one's coming. I mean, are you surprised by that, or is this about the time you expected to be getting there?
Sure, I think as a driver and a lot of drivers, I hold myself at a high standard, and I was hoping it was going to be happening a little bit sooner, but the important thing is it's happening now, and I do truly think at come Phoenix time that we can in fact vie for a win. We seem to fit a little bit better on the bigger, faster tracks. Our weekend of the scenario essentially was the short tracks, and we've kind of turned it into our strength here the last few races. Running third there at Meridian until the last lap, and then vying for a win there at Roseville to just lose it there at the end. So I think we definitely have the potential to pick up a win, and I'm glad there's another race to do so.
Alex, so close at All-American Speedway last week, but there's so much that happened this season in K&N West. I mean, how's the competition level been on that side with you behind the wheel, that number 21?
Yeah, I truly think that the competition level is very high. You've got a lot of talented young drivers. You've got some veterans in the field, and been fortunate to be kind of teammates kind of alongside there, David Mayhew, and picking his brain at times, and just day in and day out. I think there's 5 to 10 cars that can win each night. It depends on who's firing on all cylinders, whether it's the setup and who's figuring out the track and everything, and circumstances going your way. I think the way the series works, having to preserve tires was a big learning curve for me, coming from like midgets and sprint cars, where there's no saving anything, and so that didn't compute to me until towards the end of the season. So that was something to overcome. But even when it comes to road courses, a lot of these guys will surprise you, and I think a lot of the guys in the series have bright futures.
I'm curious, Alex, you just mentioned a subject that I'm very fond of as far as midgets and sprint cars go. And, talking about a little bit of that background, how much of that, as far as car control and some of the rest of what you've been able to do, how much of that have you been able to lean on, rely on, if anything, in making the shift to stock cars?
I definitely think it helped on a lot of fronts and slowed the transition on a couple, mainly helping for sure on car control. It was pretty entertaining. Steve and I have fun with each other, and he's on the radio with me, and we'll be at a fast place, and we'll get a little loose or sideways up a groove or anything, and it's nothing really out of the ordinary, and come over the radio going, whoa, 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 and like, hey, we got this, just a little sideways, we're fine. And so the car control definitely from the dirt has paid dividends, and then it takes a lot more patience than the dirt. That was probably one of the tougher things, saving tires and ultimately passing guys, taking your time, setting them up and working on them lap after lap. So it's actually, I think, an overall positive.
All right. Before we cut you loose tonight, I know there's a lot of people that have gone into this for you, and one more race to try and get it done this season. I know you probably got a lot of people to thank, Alex, and we want to give you a chance to do that. Sponsors, shout out who makes it happen for you in that 21 camp.
Heck yeah, no, I appreciate that. And, it wouldn't be possible without a couple gentlemen that believed in us and ultimately made this all happen. Tim Adolfson and Tim McElwee of Proficio and Zetavolt. Those guys and those companies kind of formed this together and able to give us that opportunity to race all season. Dan Pellizzari there at Ontario West, helping put things together. And obviously my parents 100% wouldn't be there without them. And Steve Portengay Racing. Steve, Chris, the guys putting together quality packages and giving us a shot to run up front for wins. Can't ask for more than that.
Well, it's been a lot of fun to have you on the show tonight, man. I'm definitely excited to see how it all shakes out in Phoenix. We know you're going to be gunning for that win that just got away. And we're looking forward to hopefully having you back on here over the next couple of weeks, hopefully talking about a win after Phoenix, but also looking at 2016 too, because I know you guys are probably working to get stuff in place for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not moving forward, you're usually moving backwards. So we're constant, full steam ahead, trying to figure out plans for next season and putting ourselves in a position to vie for wins and ourselves kind of moving up that motorsports ladder. So I'm really looking forward to Phoenix and can't thank you enough for having us on the show. It's been a blast.
Alex, we've had a bunch of fun as well, and we know you got a flight to catch here. I think we heard Benny and the Jets go by you there a little bit earlier in the interview.
I was just out there in the parking lot.
You'll have safe travels there, and we'll look forward to catching you around the turn here, as Jacob said, hopefully after another victory.
Excellent. No, I'm hoping the same thing, and so hopefully that's definitely the case here in the future. And again, thank you so much for having us on and looking forward to the next opportunity.
All right. That's been fun. Alex, good luck. And we definitely hope to talk with you again soon. That's Alex Shuddy. And we're going to take a break. When we come back, more motorsports, more conversation, more drivers here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. You are listening to the voice of motorsports, the Performance Motorsports Network.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Media sales professionals with agency experience. If you're frustrated with your current position, unrealistic quotas, and inept management, if you're a sales machine and you simply will not take no as an acceptable reply, If you're looking for a rapidly growing company with unlimited sales potential for commissions in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you're searching for a high-tech, forward-looking, laid-back, but extremely professional organization who appreciate your skills and dedication, we have your next opportunity. Scorpion Radio Group is building a sales team of self-starters who are motivated. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444 or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. That's 717-749-0444 and ask for Sue.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit coopercorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay. Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now. Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
And now, back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show with Speed 77 Radio's most follically challenged host, Tom Baker.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on PMN. We call it Thursday Night Thunder. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Jacob Seelman, talking motorsports. Let's talk some modified, shall we? Lots of stuff going on with the tour. We talked last week about the Whelen Southern Modified Tour and their final race at Charlotte. And over this past weekend at Thompson, Connecticut, the NASCAR Whelen Northern, if you want to say that, Modified Tour closed their season. A wild points battle right down to the wire. Jacob, Doug Coby.
Yeah, that's all that needs to be said there. No, there's actually a lot more that needs to be said there than that. Let's start with this. Doug Coby and Ryan Preece went into Sunday's World Series 150 powered by Shocker by winning the final race of the season. That did a lot of things. Number one, it gave Doug Coby the oomph to capture the championship by 11 points over Ryan Preece. Number two, it allowed him to become the first driver this side of the new millennium to capture all 4 Thompson victories in a single season. That's not been done since the late 90s. I want to say Steve Park might have been the last modified driver to do it in the North Country. But, you know, for Coby, it was a big end to a huge season. The comeback, Tom, he was almost 40 points, almost an entire race out of the championship lead with 3 races to go. Well, how did he make the comeback? By winning all 3 of those final races to close the season. There's no better way to get max points than that. He won each race, led the most laps in each race. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, and you know that was really a strong performance for Coby.
Was it ever?
Down the stretch. I mean, goodness gracious. It isn't like these guys that he's racing against are pushovers. I mean, this is some of the most competitive racing.
Anywhere in NASCAR.
Well, yeah, anywhere in NASCAR, anywhere in the country, really.
True.
I mean, New England modifieds are so strong. And, you know, to have a driver like Doug go out and do that over the last, 3 races really shows that team is on its game, which is not a big surprise, but just the fact that, he was able to pull off what he did. I mean, even if you're on your game, to win 3 in a row is one thing, but to dominate 3 in a row is a whole other.
Oh, it is. And, that gives the LFR chassis team their first manufacturer's title in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. It gives Doug Coby 3 of the last 4 points championships in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, 2012, 2014, and 2015. Tom, I got a trivia question for you, and you know how I am being stat boy. Who's the driver that's finished second to Doug Coby in all three of those championship seasons?
Ryan Preece.
Indeed. Ryan Preece and Doug Coby have now finished 1-2 in the final points 4 consecutive seasons. The only time that order was reversed, Preece over Coby, was 2013 when Ryan took the championship all the way down to the wire in the final race of the season and came out of Thompson on top. But, that championship performance also led them to make another big announcement this week, Tom. They're coming our direction. Why? For the first time since 2009, Doug Coby and Mike Smariglio III are coming to take a shot at the North-South Shootout because it's back at Concord. Coby looked at his crew chief, looked at his car owner, said, let's go. So they're coming.
Well, and that'll be great. And looking forward to being there and watching that, and going to be great to have Doug come down and take a shot. Kyle Magda, this North-South Shootout race is one of those races where it's really as big as just about any other race that either the modifieds or the past late models are going to run or have run all season. And we are really, really looking forward to seeing what he can do down here on this big half-mile dogleg track.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorites, and I think I say it every single time. It's still it's my favorite short track at the moment, Tom. So, still a lot going on, but yeah, what a show they put on there back in May with the Coma Modifieds and the past late models. That was a great show. I enjoyed every minute of it, but for someone like Doug Coby coming down south, to try to be the best of the North, to try to win that race. I mean, look at all what he's done. Won the last 3 races, won the championship, sweeping Thompson. There's just so much going for him right now. And I'm just wondering how many cars we're going to have here at Concord in a few weeks. I'd love to be down there, but it's going to be a big weekend down there. I know the World Finals are the same weekend as well, and there's a lot going on in that Charlotte area. But for Doug Coby, I mean, he has everything going for him right now. I'm probably going to have guys like Ryan Preece running that race too, and but it's good to have it back at Concord and have Doug Coby, have the champ race that race coming up here in a few weeks, Tom.
Yeah, should be very interesting. And another development that took place this week that I think really shocked all of us, honestly, who follow the modified tour up north. Our Motorsports making the announcement that they are ceasing operations and will not compete next year on the Wheel and Modified Tour. And that was such a great team for a number of years, with some of the best to ever sit in a modified behind the wheel of that car, with Mike Stefanik and
Teddy Christopher,
and then, of course, Tommy Barrett
and
Keith Rocco. Kyle, just a really, really surprising announcement, and hopefully not one we're going to see repeated anymore. We don't need cars going away from the tour. We want cars to come into it.
Yeah, it's a very healthy field. I think they had 33 at Thompson, so they've had pretty good fields. I mean, look at Riverhead back in June when I was there. They had 36 cars going for 28 spots. I mean, that's pretty good. Not counting the combo races, but yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. So much going on. With Tommy Barrett, what he was going through, and then Keith Rocco. I think he got out of that ride because he was focusing on one of the SK championships, and then Ted Christopher getting in there for the final couple races. So I mean, just very unfortunate to hear that, and the modifieds are just so many great. It's a great series. I mean, I love the ground pounders. I love seeing them when I can. Just saw them this past weekend at Oktoberfest in Mahoning Valley Speedway. So it's just they always put on a good show. Wherever you are in the South, in the North, wherever, Midwest. They always put on a good show. I mean, this is one of the best divisions of racing out there. And,
it is.
To see what they have, with like the Race of Champions tour, Tom, like I've seen with you at Oswego, and when I was at Chemung last year, there's just so many good things that come out of it. With tire management, and it's kind of like a strategy game. I mean, do you want to burn your stuff up early on? Do you want to Just take your time going through the field. I mean, there's so many variables with that series, and that's probably what makes it so interesting. Is you don't know who has the best. You think you know who has the best, and then you wind up seeing who has the best. So there's a lot. I mean, I always talk highly of them, but there's a lot of good things, and to see another team go like that, it's very very heartbreaking, Tom.
Well, again, a couple of more little pieces of scuttlebutt here as we get set to come up on our next break. Continuing with Modified Thoughts, it appears the Race of Champions Tour set to race at Lake Erie Speedway in 2016. That'll be fun. And rumor about the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competing at the Oswego Speedway next year. I talked with Oswego Speedway officials. That is not done yet and is not close to being done. So we saw a little bit of scuttlebutt about that on the internet for anybody who's heard that. Again, nothing official yet on that.
I'm glad you mentioned Oswego, Tom, because there is something in the modified world that is done for Oswego for 2016. Race of Champions Asphalt Modified Series making the announcement earlier today on Twitter that the always heralded Richie Evans Memorial Race, Tom, one of the early season races that you enjoy seeing so much up there, going to be changed slightly for 2016. As opposed to a 75-lap race, they're shortening it a little bit. They're going to pay tribute to the Rapid Roman in arguably the best way possible. We're going 61 laps.
Yeah, and that's going to be a cool deal to see that, and always fun to see the Race of Champions modifieds at Oswego. And it would be fun to see the NASCAR Whelen Tour there at the Oswego Speedway on the fast 5/8 of a mile next year. But most likely at this point, or nothing at this point is set in stone on that.
We're going to take it around the turn right after this. We're going to go back to the ARCA Racing Series and catch up with one of the rising young stars of the sport. Clayton Weatherman joins us here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, the 16-year-old just making a big announcement. You're going to hear it right here, right after this. You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby Labonte. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our community safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem, and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
And now, back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show with Speed 77 Radio's most follically challenged host, Tom Baker.
Okay, now this is twice in one night.
What's up with that?
I mean, I know I've had a 5-head since I was 4, but that's a different matter. We go on with a racing program. Welcome back to Thursday Night Thunder here on Performance Motorsports Network. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, Kyle Magna, Big Mike behind the glass, and on the Race Chaser hotline, our final driver guest of the evening, and we really want to welcome this young man back. We always enjoy anytime we can talk to him and his brother Kyle. Tonight we have Clayton Weatherman back on the show. Clayton, welcome back to the program, and congratulations on the big announcement.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
All right, Clayton. So let's tell the story here, because Tom mentioned you had a big announcement about, 4 hours ago or so now. So let's talk about how it came about. You're going to be testing an ARCA car next month, not with the family team. You get to make the jump to a Ford like your big brother did this year with Cunningham. You, sir, are going racing with Lyra Motorsports, hopefully for a few of them next season. Talk about how you got hooked up with Carlos Lyra and all those guys, because obviously you've seen what we've seen. That team is quickly on the rise.
Yes, sir. It actually happened at Salem. Michael Lyra actually called me, and him talked for a little bit, and then at Salem we talked, and then there for a little bit there wasn't really much, but then at a little bit before Kansas, Carlos called my dad, and they've been talking back and forth, and then about 3 days ago, Carlos called me, and then we communicated, and we decided we were going to go to the test together. And there's going to be four cars there, and they also just announced today my brother's going to run a truck for them. So, I mean, it's pretty cool that we're going to be able to do that, and hopefully we'll be able to run a few races for them next year and also get them a few wins next year. That'd be pretty cool.
Wow.
This has just been a day
Very
of surprises.
Nice.
Clayton,
this has been a great Weatherman day.
Yeah, it really has been. I mean, how big is this now? Because it's not been since you and Kyle were running for the family team that you guys have been on the same team. I mean, this has got to be a big deal for both of you.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, it was definitely a huge relief off of my shoulders because, I mean, this year we didn't quite get to run as many as we wanted to because we just didn't quite have money, and now we have Lyra, and then they're going to help us a little bit, but then we also kind of need a sponsor so we can run a few more races. And yeah, they talked with Kyle after Kansas, and they're going to put Kyle in a truck, but Kyle's still going to be with Cunningham. So I mean, it was definitely extremely cool to hear that he's going to be running a truck, and hopefully I'll be able to run a few races for them next year.
I know you're hoping to get some starts in the series next year. Obviously, you know that Lyra has quickly built into one of those teams that's capable of going out and winning races. I mean, how big a step is this for your ARCA career, knowing that this is, race winning equipment, it's proven equipment, and you get to work with some guys that really know their stuff in this series?
Yeah, it's a huge step, actually. I mean, we had the team to do it last year. We just didn't quite have the cars that Lyra and them have. They have a lot nicer cars than we did, so this is a huge step. Hopefully we can definitely pull something off with them. I mean, they showed this year that they definitely have cars good enough to go out there and win races.
Clayton, you've ran a couple races this year in the ARCA series. I mean, what's the most you've taken out of your ARCA starts? Actually being able to race, and unlike the first time, I know you ran into some trouble there. I mean, how does it feel to finally race against your brother here in the ARCA series?
It's probably the most fun I've ever had racing in ARCA. It's a lot of fun, but I mean, huge step in it is patience. If you don't have patience, you definitely will not be there at the end of the race to even have a chance to win. So I mean, that's something I learned early in it. And you just got to have patience the whole race, take care of your car, have no scratches on it there at the end, and finish the race. And if you're there running at the end, you're guaranteed a top 10.
Yeah, and I know
So,
you ran a couple
definitely
short track races. What was your favorite?
Salem's. I'd still have to say Salem's my favorite. That's the first track I ever went to, and every time we go there, it's a blast to go there and run.
I think somewhere along the way you finished, eighth. So that doesn't surprise me that Salem's your favorite track as far as the short tracks go, Clayton. I know, obviously, you're still working towards that 17th birthday to where you could run a couple of the bigger tracks. I know that's got to be on your mind, but it's got to be helpful if you can get some of these ARCA starts secured for next year to be able to go back to a few of these short tracks. I'm sure that, that's really going to help you next year having some experience at a few of these places.
Yes, sir. That'd definitely help if we were able to go to Salem, Winchester, Lucas Oil Raceway, tracks like that, get a little more experience, and then hopefully when we turn 17, we could go to a few bigger tracks and see what we could do there. But if we don't have experience at short track, we definitely want to do good at a bigger track. So running short tracks like Salem and stuff like that would definitely help us in a few bigger tracks.
All right, so I know nothing's finished for next year just yet, and you guys are still working towards it. But as far as the test session goes next month, have you guys determined where exactly you're testing yet? And, what's the goal for that session for you personally?
We're actually testing at a track in Virginia. I think it's called Monster Mile. It's going to be me and 3 other drivers, and then we're pretty much going there to test, and all the our cars. It's their test, so then, pretty much right now we're going there, and they're going to, I guess, see how I do, and then hopefully we can go from there and hopefully have a few races with them.
Yeah, Motor Mile's a fun little track. I'm sure you've got to be excited about this, Clayton. I know we're excited for you going into next year. The last thing I can think of to ask you here, if things pan out, you get a couple starts, what's the goal for Clayton Weatherman next year in the ARCA Series, especially after seeing what your brother did this year? He was a little impressive.
Yeah, I'd say he was pretty impressive. He had a great year. It wasn't the best year, but it was a dang good year for him. Probably my goal was to, we had a few races where we had a car to finish top 5, and we just had simple failures inside car that just ended our night. But I know we'd definitely be able to get a top 5, so that's probably my goal is top 5, and then hopefully if we can get our top 5, hopefully we can get a little better finish, top 3, something like that. It'd be pretty cool.
Well, it's been fun to watch you, I know, here over the past couple of seasons, graduate out of the Legends car, get in the ARCA Series now. It's really been a fun progression for you, and next year can only build on that, Clayton. I know a lot of people have helped you get to that point, and definitely want to give you a shot to shout out to him. Who makes it happen for Clayton Weatherman?
Definitely my dad, Michael Harper, United Nissan, Lee Keach, people like that, Miller Brothers. All these people, without them, we definitely would not be here. So, without them, I'd probably never be anywhere close to where I'm at now. So, have to thank them. And
well, we've been glad to have you on here, Clayton. Definitely excited to see the test session going on here over the next couple of weeks. And we'll look forward to having you back on once you have a little more to talk about as far as 2016 goes. We're looking forward to hopefully seeing you on that ARCA grid.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton. We appreciate having you on, and good luck the rest of the way. That was Clayton Weatherman and Jacob. Here are 2 brothers who we watched race in the Legends cars
at the Bojangles Summer Shootout.
Yes, at Charlotte Motor Speedway here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, Clayton won a couple of championships there.
He did, yeah, and to see the quick progression from them, and to see the way that they've carried themselves and the way that they've gone about what they're doing, it just has been fun to watch. And that was interesting. Clayton kind of gave us an additional scoop there about older brother Kyle getting an opportunity in a truck for Lyra Motorsports. Jacob, what do you make of that?
I make of that the ARCA Rookie of the Year went and found himself another partnership with a team that's affiliated with Roush Fenway Racing, who he's a development driver for now, keep in mind. But boy, we were already planning on having Kyle on next week to talk about Rookie of the Year. Now we've got double the reason to have him on, because this is going to be a very, very big deal. You talk about a team with all the positive momentum in the world right now. Carlos, Michael Lira, everybody over there at Lira Motorsports. I mean, you don't just go from one car to 4 ARCA cars and now a truck team overnight. I mean, this has been incredible to see their rise.
It really has been, and just so much fun to, to see how, they progressed. And like I said, the way they carry themselves, just two very humble, very good kids. And boy, both of them can wheel a race car, and I'm happy for both of them and look forward to seeing what they can do with their respective opportunities. It's amazing, honestly, how Lira Motorsports has developed. I mean, Ryan Reed getting a couple of wins for him in the ARCA series, and Tyler Dibble doggone near getting him a win on the dirt a little bit earlier this year. Just unbelievable, Kyle Magda, the rise of Lira Motorsports all of a sudden.
And Tom, keep in mind, I mean, the momentum that team has had. I mean, Ryan Reed has finished 4th and 1st in the last 2 ARCA races. And then David Levine, 3rd place at Kentucky, had a great car there. Just announced today he's going to be running the season finale in the Truck Series at Homestead with Lira Motorsports. So there's a lot going on right now. Levine finished 5th in points, won a couple races this year. I know Michael was struggling a little bit this year, but good to have somebody like Ryan Reed come in the car just to see how much speed they had. They had the speed. 2 wins this year. I mean, I know Ryan Reed pretty much dominated Chicagoland, but Kentucky was not an easy race to win. With Travis Braden closing on him in the final laps. So just a lot for that team to they don't have to hang their head at all. They had 4 cars the last 3 races of the year, Tom. So a lot going for them, and looking forward to 2016 here.
Yeah, it should be very interesting to see how that develops, and we'll keep an eye on what Levine does as we get to Homestead and the Truck Series closes out its season. With that, we are going to step aside just for a moment. When we come back, it is the White Flag segment, our final segment here on tonight's Thursday Night Thunder. We got a lightning round coming up and lots more left to cover in a short amount of time here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
This is Paul Stanley from KISS for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Some of us work months producing a CD, but in less time than it takes to play it, someone will be killed in an alcohol-related crash. So please don't drive when you've been drinking. Plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
This is Joey Logano, driver of NASCAR number 22 Discount Tire Car. You know something? You and I aren't all that different. I drive a car, you drive a car. My car has tires, your car has tires. I may be going just a little faster than you each weekend, but we both need to keep those tires properly inflated to stay safe. So be tire smart and do your part. Check your tire pressures once a month and before every long journey.
Visit BeTiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Let's go back to steel and aluminum stock cars and supplying the SRIs with Race Chaser Online senior editor Tom Baker and the Speed 77 radio cast.
Steele,
what?
That was just awful.
Well, that's close enough. I don't care.
Welcome back to the program to Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Jacob Seelman. And, you know, you'd think one of these weeks, Bob, would get that right. We are talking motorsports for about another 15 minutes or so here on PMN, and looking forward to a little bit of lightning round as we revisit the Talladega Motor Speedway, where this weekend both the Cup Series and the Truck Series in action. The trucks have been off for a couple of weeks now. They've had themselves a little bit of a break. This weekend, the Xfinity Series gets a well-deserved bit of rest, and the trucks come back. Let's talk, Kyle Magda, about the Truck Series. I'm going to hit a couple of questions really quick in lightning round style. These are buy and sell questions. Question number one, are you buying or are you selling that Mr. Mile and a Half Matt Crafton goes into Talladega and becomes Mr. Super Speedway and wins this weekend's truck race?
Guys, this is a very, very open field. I'm going to sell it, and I'll tell you why. There is so many drivers pretty much running on their first time on the Super Speedway. I know there's like Christopher Bell. You have Brian Keselowski driving for Brad this week. There's just so many drivers out there. You know, Eric Jones doesn't have much Super Speedway experience at a restrictor plate track, but you know, it's good to see these drivers get it. You know, it's very wide open right now. I think, and you know, I look at the entry list and I can't pick a driver, Tom. It's hard. It's hard to pick somebody because any of those drivers can go out there and win. I mean, we've seen crazy things happen. You know, last year, I don't know how the tandems. I don't know what NASCAR is going to do this time. I know at the Xfinity race last time they didn't have them at Daytona back in July. I don't know how it's going to work this time, but I mean, we could see a surprise winner here on Saturday. You know, Brandon Jones is another, Tom. Very limited experience. You know, ran Talladega ARCA race in May. So there's a lot of drivers out there that do not have a lot of restrictor plate experience. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. You know, I mean, anybody has a shot in that field, Tom. Anyone who takes the green flag on Saturday has a chance to win.
My second question is going to be for Jake, and Kyle mentioned Brian Keselowski getting an opportunity, a really good opportunity to compete in the number 29 for his brother Brad's race team. Jacob, are you buying or are you selling? Brian Keselowski could pull off the victory.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it all day long. Here's why. Number one, Brian Keselowski in an ARCA car on a super speedway was always very, very, very potent. I don't think a truck, especially not a race-winning truck like the 29 truck is, I don't see anything changing there. Brian knows how to work the draft. His teammate Tyler Reddick won the Daytona truck race in February. So you know if those two trucks work together, that's going to be a very potent pairing. And third, Brian Keselowski isn't there for any other reason but to try and win a NASCAR race. That's what he's wanted to do for his entire career. It would only be storybook if it happened in Little Brother's truck.
Now, Kyle Magda, I quickly turn back to you for a follow-up to this. Are you buying or selling that if Brian Keselowski, now I know that Brad is not everybody's favorite racer, but are you buying or selling that if Brian Keselowski, who everybody seems to love, gets the win in the Truck Series race at Talladega, this would be almost a junior-like reception out of the grandstand?
I'll buy it all day, every day,
Me too.
because what a story. The blog that came out about Austin Terrio and his crash. Thank God he's okay. And when this was announced, I mean, you got to feel good for the story. I mentioned, I back to the 2011 Gatorade duels with Brad Push and Brian there. I was there for that, and I'll tell you what, Tom. I know Trevor Bands was special. But Brian Keselowski, one of the biggest long shots to make the Daytona 500, gets in the race, and that was just, I was smiling the entire day afterwards. With a story like that, no sponsor, Discount Tire jumping on. For the weekend, to make that race, that was huge. I know, the race didn't end that he won it, got collected in the big one there on early in the race. But, for Brian Keselowski, everything's going for him right now, Tom. He just won the Hoosier Tire Super Speedway Challenge with Matt Krzyzewski and ARCA last weekend. And, he has a lot going for him right now. He's raced himself, back in ARCA. And I know, I know he's dying to get back into a race car. Just hasn't worked out. He ran Lucas Oil, he ran Berlin, he ran Salem Fall. It's good to have a guy like Brian Keselowski. I've met him before. He's a very nice guy. And I've talked to him, and I've taken a picture of his car actually with the Discount Tire colors back in 2011 at the 500. But, for Brian, it would be huge. The BKR was, I think 1 and 3 or 1 and 4. I forget about the 4-wide finish at Daytona, but. They just have all the momentum going for them right now, and just for Brian Keselowski to step into a truck like that, be huge, Tom. I don't know. I don't think there would be, just a story, just to go for that. I think that would just captivate everybody.
Okay, so talking about Talladega, talking about the trucks, we've talked about some of the guys who could pull this off, but Jacob, there's a points battle going on in this series too, and it's pretty hot and heavy, and it's getting down to crunch time. I know Talladega is a track where you basically play the racing equivalent of 52-card pickup. If you're going to choose a winner, you just throw all the car numbers up in the air. Whichever one lands first is as good as any you could pick. But who do you think, if we just sort of take out of the picture that anybody could get into a big wreck or whatever, if just kind of looking at this 10,000-foot overview, who comes out of here with the points lead, and who establishes themselves? Does Eric Jones, does Tyler Reddick, or is it still going to be Matt Crafton when we get back to Motorsports Madness on Monday night here on PMN?
Well, considering Eric Jones enters Talladega with the points lead.
That's right. I forgot he had the points lead.
Yeah, oh gosh, you would ask me the hard question. I'm going to say Matt Crafton. And I'm going to say Matt Crafton takes it from Eric Jones, and I'll tell you why. Eric Jones, while he's good and while he can run up front at the super speedways, Eric is a driver whose driving style I don't feel like really suits the super speedways, because he's very highly aggressive, and there are times in these even in the truck races, we call these sprint races, but they're really not. You've got to be patient in these restrictor plate races. You can't make moves too soon. We saw it in the whole deal back when he and Kyle Busch were racing together in the Xfinity race at Daytona in February. We know how that ended. I know it wasn't sparked by Eric Jones, but he's a little bit too gutsy at times for these super speedway races, in my opinion. I think you're starting to see that change, but I think it's going to come back to bite him in this 250-miler on Saturday. I really do think that he's going to end up in some sort of trouble, whether it's inadvertently sparked by him or whether he gets collected somewhere. I think the Ford truck is one of the ones that gets collected as a result of the big one, and Matt Crafton survives and goes on to take the points lead. That's just my 2 cents.
It'll be interesting. I think Eric's come a long way since that. And I think Eric is the type of driver now. I think he has learned to be more patient. But the guy I'm really looking at is Tyler Reddick. I mean, Tyler does.
Again, he won at Daytona.
Yes, Tyler Reddick is the type of driver who understands how to run these tracks, and these tracks do fit his driving style. Now, Kyle Magda, the interesting thing about Tyler is as you've gone through the last 7 or 8 races, Tyler has made several mistakes that really have cost him an opportunity to have been out front in this points race, perhaps with a decent lead going down the stretch. I think this is a race where Tyler Reddick and Brian Keselowski, really, I think having Brian as his teammate is a good thing in this one, because I think this is a race where Tyler Reddick could get right back into this and reestablish himself as the guy to beat over the last couple of races.
Yeah, I think a key moment in this whole championship battle was Mosport, with Eric Jones winning the race and then Tyler having the issue, the crash. I think that kind of set him back a little bit, because it seems like right now, guys, is nobody wants to win this championship as much as I want. I know it doesn't sound good off the tongue,
kind of does actually.
But it just seems like nobody wants to win, because you go out here in the last. Since Mosport, I mean, pretty much, we had John Nemechek win on fuel mileage at Chicagoland. Austin Dillon goes out there, wins it loud, and then John West Townley wins on fuel mileage last week. 3 weeks ago. So there's just so much going on right now, and it just seems like they're running just good enough to be in the points chase. Not really going up there for wins. And I know Matt Crafton ran out of gas at Las Vegas and had to pit, and I think he tried to throw the roll ball or padding or something out the window. But, pretty much, we're down to 5 races left. There's everything on the line right now. Eric Jones is not going to be here next year. Matt Crafton, we don't know what he's doing. He'll probably be back next year. So there's just so much going on right now. Same thing with Tyler Reddick. We're not really sure what he's doing. So there's a lot on the line right now, Tom. Coming into Talladega, and I firmly believe that this race could dictate the championship, because keep in mind we have 2 mile-and-a-halves coming up, and we have Phoenix and also Martinsville. So there's a lot of wild cards being thrown in here, and I know it's going to be a pretty interesting 5 races, Tom. Not much more time, but before you know it, it'll be over.
Well, it is going to be an interesting stretch for these trucks. And, you brought up a good point, because we know Eric Jones is going to be full-time Xfinity in 2016. We really don't know what Tyler Reddick's going to be doing. One would assume perhaps he might be right back where he is, but we don't know that to be sure. And certainly he wants to perform his best down the stretch here, because if there is any doubt where he's going to be, he's kind of auditioning at this point. The championship is certainly a nice ace in the hole to carry with you into a negotiation, Jake, when you're trying to look for a deal for next year.
Yeah, and let's clarify. This is, as far as my understanding goes, this is a contract year for Tyler Reddick. The deal was the 13 to 15 races in 2014 and then a full slate here in 2015. He certainly performed at a level where you would think he would be back in that truck next season, Tom. So I'll give you a chance to give your final thought on this now. If Tyler Reddick doesn't come back, who do you think jumps in the 19 truck?
Boy, I'm going to tell you, there's some interesting things happening out there. We didn't even talk about Justin Allgaier going over to Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, that's not been officially.
It's not official, but it's looking like that's a distinct possibility. So you got Regan Smith out there. This is going to be there's still some pieces I think that are going to fall first before everything can get settled out. I got a feeling there's 1 or 2 more surprises to this silly season before all of this can settle out. It seems like that anyway.
Yeah, it does. And as we get ready to close the show tonight, we will say that there is going to be a whole lot more silly season conversation, Talladega conversation, you name it, on Performance Motorsports Network over the next couple of days. We're back on the air Monday night for Motorsports Madness at 7 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the network every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So we hope you'll join us in a week. We hope you'll also join us for more great PMN programming coming up. Right now, I want to say a special thanks to our partners at Stock Car Steel and SRI Supplies for making this show possible. And you can visit them on the web at stockcarsteel.com and sri-supplies.com for all your shop supply and scrap metal needs. So, for Big Mike behind the glass, Kyle Magnus, CJ Wolliver, Tom Baker, all the rest of our PMN crew and staff, and saying a special thanks to our guests tonight, I'm Jacob Seelman for the Performance Motorsports Network, reminding you to keep it off the wall until we meet again. And hey, wherever you may be, we might end up seeing you at the racetrack. Have a safe racing weekend. We'll see you next week. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Tonight's show is brought to you by Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supplies. For all of your racing needs, visit StockCarSteel.com and SRI-Supplies.com. Keep up with the latest motorsports news every day on Race Chaser Online. The Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week for more great motorsports programming right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.